Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm making spaghetti bolognese, and these are the ingredients you'll need. I'm going to cook this pasta. You can eat the spaghetti bolognese with any kind of pasta, but I have this spinach fettuccine. You can eat it with we can eat it with normal fettuccine. You can eat it with normal spaghetti, linguine, macaroni, penne pasta, any kind of pasta. So these are the main ingredients you'll need. I've got half a kilo of minced beef here. Half a kilo of minced beef. I've got 2 chicken stock cubes that are a bit salty. So I'm not going to add any salt to mine. You only really need 1 medium-sized pepper. But I have 2 in the fridge and I want to use them. I don't want them to go bad in the fridge. So I just put 2. But you only need 1, like this size. I've got 2 large carrots. You can put in 1 small carrot, 1 medium carrot if you want, or 1 large carrot. But the carrot adds a nice flavor. Also, I've got half a bulb of garlic. You only really need 4, but I like extra garlic in mine. I've got 2 onions here. The onions are important. They give the sauce a nice flavor. I've got this puree, tomato paste. Got this small one. It's about 100 grams, I believe. 100 grams. And I've got a tin of tomatoes. You can use any kind of tin of tomatoes because I'm going to blend it in the blender. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And now I have the spices. Now you don't need to add any of these spices. I've seen people just make it without any spice. But I'm going to add a little bit, small amounts of garlic powder. I've got here onion powder. Probably going to add a teaspoon or less of all of this stuff. I'm going to use half a teaspoon of coriander powder. I'm going to use this mixed Bahrain curry spice I have. I told you it's similar to Somali hawaji. And I also have this Italian seasoning, pizza seasoning. It's like Italian herbs, mixed Italian herbs. I'm only going to add a very small amount of that because there's a strong flavor. And I'm going to add some cumin seeds. I have cumin seeds in this tin here. Cumin or Jeera powder. So I'm going to add that. And that's it. So let's get started. I'm going to start by blending the tomato paste. The canned tomato. Okay, I've got my canned tomato in here. And I'm adding 1 full cup of water in the tomato can. I filled it up with some water. I'm adding that as well. It's a very Somali thing to do. To fill the can of tomato with water and add it. Next, I'm going to get large chunks of pepper like this and just chuck it in the blender. It's all going to go in the blender. So I'm going to cut the peppers into just large pieces and chuck it in the blender. Okay, next thing to go in my blender is the garlic. I've got the garlic here. I get a spoon like this. Then I just crush it with the spoon. Well, you need both hands. So you basically crush it with the spoon. And I'll show you how it looks. Okay, after you crush it with the spoon with both hands, this is what you get. The skin comes off like this, so easy. And then you just chuck it into the blender. I'm going to do that for all of them now. Okay, I've added also green coriander, fresh coriander. I added about a handful. Make sure you wash your coriander thoroughly so you don't have any soil in there. So I'm going to blend all this together now. We have a slight issue here. My blender just stopped working halfway through blending stuff. So we have these big pieces of veg and tomato, but it doesn't matter. We're still going to carry on and cook, and it will taste just the same, as delicious as it should be. But this is meant to be smooth, but it's not. But we're going to carry on anyway. Okay, I've put my pan on to medium heat. I've got my half a kilo of minced beef, so I'm going to cook it now in some olive oil. So I got this on medium-high heat, and I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Next, I'm going to chop up my onions roughly, my 2 onions roughly. I'm going to add it to the mince. Make sure while your mince is cooking that you break up all the meat like this. This is on medium-high heat. While it's cooking, you just break it up. And next we're going to add in the onions that I chopped up. But always keep an eye on your meat, make sure it's not burning or anything. But if it's on medium heat, it shouldn't burn anyway. Okay, I have my onions in here. I decided to add an extra onion, so I put in 3 onions instead of 2. 2 is more than enough, but I just like a lot of onions. So we're just going to mix this all together and let it cook and brown together. Make sure you break up your minced meat. Okay, when the meat starts turning a nice brown color like this and the onions have softened like this, now we can start adding in the spices. I told you I'm not going to add a lot of spices. Beef is not like chicken. Chicken can take a lot of spices, but beef, you don't need a lot of spice in there. Some people don't even add any spice at all. Of coriander powder, about half a teaspoon, not too much. Just a little bit, about a teaspoon to half a teaspoon. I'm also going to add in about a teaspoon of the hawaji mix, the mixed spices. This is called Bahrain curry spice, but it's very similar to hawaji. I'm only going to add this very small amount of this, so like half a teaspoon. Next, I'm going to add in about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of cumin powder, cumin or Jeera powder, about a teaspoon of cumin or Jeera powder. That's it. I'm going to fry the spices for a couple of minutes before adding in the carrots. Okay, I've added in the 2 large carrots. You don't need to add all this carrot, but I just added it more just to get some veg in here. Added 2 large carrots. You can add in 1 medium carrot, 1 large carrot, 1 small carrot. It's up to you. If you've got fussy eaters, because the carrot is grated, you won't really notice. So just going to mix this in before we add in our tomato sauce that we blended together. Remember, I told you my blender is not working. This is meant to be a smooth paste. This is meant to be a smooth liquid. So pretend this is a smooth liquid that's been blending together for 2 minutes on high on the blender. But unfortunately, that's not the case here. But it will still look and taste delicious. I might break up some of the veg, the lumpy bits of veg. But don't worry, this is still going to be absolutely delicious. I like to add water from a kettle into the blender to make sure I get all the sauce out of it. Just about half a cup. I'm going to put it in the sauce like that. Now the secret to a good bolognese is that you let it cook and reduce for at least half an hour. But if you want it really nice, you do it up to an hour to 2 hours. You let it cook on low heat. So I'm just going to add some water because it's going to reduce. I'm going to add about a cup of water. So altogether we've added about 2.5 cups of water, hot water. I just added some boiling hot water now. So altogether we have about 2.5 cups of water. Actually, I might just add a little bit more. Yeah, so we have between 2.5 and 3 cups of water in here with the can of tomato. Next, I'm going to add in the tomato puree, 100 grams of tomato puree or tomato paste. Okay, so I've added in the 100 grams of tomato paste or tomato puree. So I'm going to mix that in. This is on medium-high, but when it starts to bubble nicely, I'm going to turn it down to low. And we're going to cook this slowly for an hour. I know it looks pretty actually, but it's chunky sauce instead of the smooth sauce that I was envisioning. But you know, sometimes things happen in the kitchen that are out of your control, like the blender not working. But for you, hopefully it'll be nice smooth sauce and the carrots will cook down. And all you'll see basically is the bits of minced meat in here. Well, that's what you're meant to see. Mine will be a bit more chunky than I was expecting. Only because my blender is broken. It's not working. Okay, next I'm going to add in 2 chicken stock. Okay, I have my 2 chicken stock here. I'm going to add it. And I'm going to make sure I mix it in properly. You have to make sure the chicken stock dissolves in the sauce. You don't want chicken stock that's randomly large cube go. If you don't mix it properly and make sure it's dissolved in sauce, you find this random big chunks of chicken stock in your sauce, but you want it to dissolve and mix in with all the other flavors. Yes, make sure you do that. I'm not adding any salt because my chicken stock is salty. Now, if you're not adding chicken stock or your chicken stock is not salted, then you would add in salt to taste. For this amount of sauce, I think a teaspoon of salt is fine. But you can add as much as you wish or as little as you wish. Okay, next thing to go in is optional. I'm adding onion powder. Oops. I've added about a tablespoon of onion powder. I love it anyway, but you don't need to add this. This is optional. You can add in a teaspoon or a tablespoon. But I don't mind adding more. I really like the flavor of it anyway. It's only going to add to your sauce. Even if you add more like I did, like a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons, it doesn't matter. Next, I'm going to add in some garlic powder. Again, how much garlic powder you add is really optional. I'd say a teaspoon is enough, maybe 2 teaspoons. You know I like garlic and onion powder. I love it, so sometimes I add more. But about a teaspoon is enough for 2 teaspoons. We're going to mix that in. Make sure you mix everything in nicely. Actually, the sauce looks great already, to be honest. Even though we had a mishap with the blender and it's not as smooth as I would like, it's still looking great. Next, I'm adding in the mixed Italian herbs or seasoning. This is herbs. There's no salt in here. I'm only going to add a very small amount, like a quarter of a teaspoon, because it has a very strong flavor. And we have all these other flavors in here, so we don't really need too much. So I've only added a little amount, maybe even less than a quarter of a teaspoon. So now I'm going to mix this all very well together. I'm going to put a lid on it. Actually, before I do that, I need to add one last ingredient. Okay, the sauce is bubbling nicely. I'm going to add the last ingredient, which is a teaspoon of sugar. Brown or white sugar, whatever sugar you have. I'm going to put in only a teaspoon. Now calm down. This is not going to make the sauce sweet. It's just to get rid of the acidity in the tomatoes. It will not make your sauce sweet. It's on low heat now. I'm going to put on my lid and we're going to cook it for an hour. I told you before, you can cook this for half an hour. It will taste nice. But the longer you cook the tomatoes, the better the sauce will be. You can cook it up to 2 hours. But I'm only going to do an hour. So I'm just going to let this cook on low heat for 2 hours. Now, you know I use this makeshift lid because I don't have a lid for this pot, but it will do. On low heat for an hour. You mix it every 10 to 15 minutes. Make sure it's not burning. But it's on low heat, so it shouldn't be burning. Put it on low heat. While the sauce is still cooking, I'm going to cook my spinach fettuccine. So don't be surprised when it comes out looking green like this. It just takes 12 minutes. So here I have my fettuccine pasta in some water and salt. I added about half a teaspoon of salt in here. It's going to cook for 12 minutes and then I'm going to drain it. And it'll be ready for the sauce. The sauce has been cooking now for at least half an hour. I'm going to give it another half an hour and it'll be ready. Okay, my spinach fettuccine is fully cooked and I've drained it. Now to make sure the pasta doesn't stick together, you put in a bit of olive oil. You drizzle a little bit of olive oil like that. You mix it all very well together to make sure the pasta doesn't stick together. And it's done. Now we're just waiting for the sauce to be fully cooked. Okay, the sauce has been cooking for about hour and 20 minutes. I told you can cook the tomato sauce. Once you add the tomato sauce, you can cook it from anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how much time you have. So I've been cooking this for about an hour and 20 minutes. And this is how it looks. It looks delicious. It would have been a bit smoother if my blender was working, but it's fine. Now I'm going to pour this on top of my pasta. I'll show you the finished product. Okay, here is my spinach fettuccine with my lovely Bolognese tomato sauce, Bolognese with the minced beef. It looks delicious. It smells delicious and I'm ready to eat it. Please like and subscribe to my videos. Please like my videos and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum. Bye.